Hi guys, Artie here, and Universal Kids has officially shut down as of March 6, 2025 at midnight. Back in January, multiple cable services announced that the channel would be closed down in 2 months' time, and was confirmed by NBCUniversal themselves a week later. This announcement came shortly after the company announced that it was spinning off a majority of its cable assets into a separate company, which I've already made a video about. This notably left out Universal Kids, which foreshadowed the channel's closure. This is the first NBC Universal Comcast network to shut down since, let me check my notes here, the G4 TV revival back in 2022. And before that, the horror movie channel Chiller, which closed down way back in December 2017. That's certainly a blast from the past. Comment down below if you remember Chiller, only the real OGs will remember that one. Before I get into anything, I want to say there's been a rumor floating around lately that MeTV Toons will replace Universal Kids channel space after it shuts down, and it's false. If that were to actually happen, Weigel would have come out with an announcement on their Twitter page or in a news article saying so. If a rumor sounds too good to be true and there's a lack of evidence backing it up, 99% of the time, it's made up. You can't believe everything you see on the internet, people. Personally, I feel indifferent to the closure of Universal Kids since I don't really care. None of the programs that aired on this network interested me at all, likely because I'm way above the target demographic. To me, the downfall of cable TV is bittersweet. It's sad to see because the channels we've grown to know are slowly fading away, but at the same time, it's nice and deserved because of all the faults with the medium that I've talked about before. However, what I will say is that the channel was hell of a lot better back when it was known as Sprout, and I grew up watching that a year before I went to school. For some reason, and I never knew why, but I never got to go to preschool, so this, PBS Kids, and Noggin ended up being my preschool. As you may already know, the channel originally started out as PBS Kids Sprout in September 2005, which replaced the original PBS Kids cable channel, which would later relaunch as an over-the-air network in 2017. Ironically, the same year Sprout rebranded to Universal Kids. It was a joint venture between Comcast, Public Broadcasting Service, Hit Entertainment, and Sesame Workshop. As the years went on, most of the companies backed out and sold their share back to Comcast, making them the sole owner of the network. Oh yeah, Comcast bought NBCUniversal in 2011, putting the channel under the same umbrella as NBC and USA Network. The ever-growing monopoly bought out DreamWorks in 2016 and used this as an opportunity to take advantage of their renowned library and rival the bigger kids networks, so they rebranded to Universal Kids a year later. Why I think Universal Kids failed is because when it first rebranded and replaced Sprout in 2017, it alienated the already existing preschool audience with shows that were either meant for slightly older children or were just not relevant, such as the live-action programming, like Top Chef Jr. They did continue to carry Sprout as a programming block, but it was phased out in 2018 and people moved on. The other problem is that it came too late in the game. During 2017, some people were still watching cable TV, but were rapidly shifting to popular alternatives such as YouTube and streaming services. It didn't come as late as Cartoonito, where basically all children are glued to their iPads in the 2020s, so it still had a tiny viewer base, but it wasn't non-existent. The biggest factor is that there were already pre-existing options for children and families' entertainment. You know, the big shots, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, and hell, even PBS Kids to an extent. So most people didn't care when there were more relevant and renowned shows on these already existing networks, instead of this recently rebranded channel that had little to offer to the table. They were better off staying as Sprout. Year after year, viewership dropped drastically, and the channel was way behind all the competition, doing even worse than Discovery Family. There were a few originals planned to air on the channel, such as an animated adaptation of Where's Waldo, but NBCUniversal opted to put those on the newly launched at the time Peacock streaming service. So a lack of original programming was also a factor of this channel's demise, with changing viewer habits also leaving a mark. Because of this, the channel eventually did bring back some preschool-oriented programming around 2020, hoping to reel back in a lost audience. But it was too little, too late. The channel essentially ran on autopilot for the next 4¼ years until the channel was unceremoniously shut down on March 6, 2025. For more information about PBS Kids Sprout's history, I highly recommend you check out Amazing Lewis's defunct channel series, where he goes more into depth about it in 2 separate videos. Many viewers have already seen it, so it would kind of be a waste of time to reiterate the entire channel's history, so instead I only went over key points. Since cable is clearly on its way out, I wonder what channel is going to be next to kick the bucket. Could it be Discovery Family? FXX? One of those alternative MTV channels nobody watches like MTVU? Only time will tell. But if I had to guess, probably Discovery Family since the channel's on the verge of going bankrupt and has no market value. The streaming age is great, ain't it? Only if there were a cheaper, more user-friendly alternative. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, notify, and check out other videos on the channel. You may like them. Do you think Universal Kids had a chance to be successful, or were they doomed from the start? Let me know in the comments.